and welcome to Secure Your Mind podcast episode 2.
So can you explain to me, explain to the people listening, what is a man in the middle hack? Because that's something you brought up to me, and that's something that really freaked me out, because it just shook. It sort of just was something like, with someone with no technical experience whatsoever. Like, I'm an Apple user. That sort of highlights how little I know about technology. Please tell me all about that, sort of the different types of hacks, and what is quite commonly used today.
Yeah, so a man in the middle is quite a common attack. Essentially what it is if you go to a website, say you go to bank.com, essentially you and the bank will establish a connection between yourselves, an encrypted connection to be exact, and you will do stuff like your internet banking. But if your network has been compromised, a hacker could sit in between of the communications between yourself and the bank, and they could change something. So, for instance, you might be looking to send your aunt £1,000. They could change where that money is going to, and obviously they're going to direct it to themselves.
Mental. It just blows my mind. That's you don't rob a bank anymore. You do it this way. That's the way to do it.
Yeah, criminals are realizing that hacking is a white collar crime. You get less time than robbing a bank, and
guns are waved.
It's easier. You can now rob an elderly person over the phone. But essentially, the state of hacking. Hackers are getting more and more nefarious. They're getting smarter. They're writing hacks which are more intricate, and the cybersecurity is just falling behind. We're essentially not developing cybersecurity posture fast enough to keep up with these hackers, and they're just beating us. And so, people like myself, I'm trying to essentially help establish and train people and
break the chain. Separate,
essentially
help people out.
Yeah.
It's amazing, actually, because with the powers that you have, you could do some terrible things, but instead you've chosen to actually look after people.
I could use it for malicious intent. I could essentially hack someone and blackmail. Ransomware is a very common crime, a common type of malicious tactic that hackers are using. And last year was the first time that we've seen something called ransomware as a service. So hackers are essentially, they have a website where they offer you their exploits to be used to essentially ransomware a place, and in return they take a percentage of the ransom. So this is the first time that we've seen this, because it's just
scary stuff. It feels like you're in a cyber film, but this is very real. This is what happens all the time, and it's such a common threat. But people are just nah, that doesn't happen. That only happens in a film. That only happens in a TV program. But it's an actual a threat that we're constantly facing in this modern age.
People don't realize how close we've come to having parts of the internet wiped out because of stuff like this. Back in 2017 we had a hack called the Eternal Blue. It has
they have such cool names, I have to say. The names are pretty cool.
They do come up with some pretty cool names.
Eternal Blue to
say. This hack, where it originated from, they don't really know. I have hints that it came from Ukraine, but actually it could have been planted as a political bias.
Better than Eternal Yellow. That sounds terrible. Eternal Blue sounds a little bit better, I guess.
Yeah, so essentially it was in order for a Windows computer and a Linux computer or a Mac computer to communicate.
So what is Linux? You have to explain it to me, because for most of you listeners out there, I'm sure they'll also agree that they're kind of dummies when it comes to this stuff. But I have watched Mr. Robot, and I feel like I am some sort of knowledgeable person when it comes to hacking, because I've watched Mr. Robot. What is Linux?
So Linux is essentially an operating system, just like Windows is. But Windows is what we call a graphical user interface to use the underlying operating system. So there's stuff underneath of the hood, or what you see, processes that are running in the background, and that's what the operating system is and does. And Linux essentially is a layer on top of Unix. And Unix is basically used in every single computer. It's used in Windows, in Macs.
So what is it that you personally use to protect your customers?
So I use a Ubuntu computer.
That sounds quite South African.
Yeah, it does.
Apparently that means humanity in Zulu. I am because we are. Quite interesting little fact for you there about South Africa. I didn't read that off the computer or anything. Didn't have that one pre-rehearsed, guys, I promise.